Welcome to this Arirang special, Ushering in 2024. Thanks for joining us on New Year's Eve. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We are counting down to the new year as we say goodbye to 2023, an eventful year with many ups and downs. We take a look back on the past year as we look forward to the year to come. And we will bring you live the iconic bell tolling ceremony in central Seoul in about an hour. To stay with us. First, let's connect with our reporter Lee Soo-jin, who's at a major New Year's Eve celebration site in Seoul. Soo-jin, you are at one of the most crowded places in Korea during New Year's Eve, Boshingak Pavilion. Can you set the scene out for us?
Sure, Chungmin. You can almost feel the excitement here. You can also see the large crowd reflected right here in the screen behind me. Everyone's ready to ring in 2024 despite the cold weather. I'm actually having to speak a lot louder than usual because of all the background noise from all the people that are gathered here today. But they're all ready to take part in South Korea's traditional bell ringing ceremony that's taking place right here at Boshingak Pavilion in central Seoul that will run until 1 a.m. The midnight bell ringing ceremony that began in 1953 is Korea's version of the ball drop in New York's Times Square. Around an hour from now, at midnight, a total of 22 people, including the mayor of Seoul, Oh Se-hoon, 12 locals, and 6 global influencers, will ring the bell 33 times, a symbolic number in Buddhism, and a practice dating back to the Joseon dynasty when it was used to signal the end of the night curfew. This year is the first New Year's ceremony to be held without the COVID-19 mask mandate, further adding to the excitement. Let's take a listen.
I never saw New Year from in another country, only in Portugal, so I'm really excited for new experience.
I love the atmosphere of celebrating the end of the year with a bunch of people.
Looks so excited. Soo-jin, what are some things that people can look forward to, and is there anything particular special about this year's bell ringing ceremony?
Well, I won't be keeping people in the dark for very long, and also the Seoul city government won't be either, literally, because right after the bell strikes at midnight, a light will shine upon the faces of the people because a giant sunshade orb will come above. This year's bell ringing ceremony will feature a large artificial sun in Sejeongdae-do in downtown Seoul. The sphere with a 12-meter diameter will be lifted 15 meters into the air to mark the new year dawning. Local government officials are calling it the world's first sunrise of the new year. The sun will be lit up for around 3 minutes. There will also be exciting performances leading up to the bell ringing ceremony. Fusion music band Season of Seoul is taking the stage, playing both traditional Korean instruments like the kayagum and the Western violin. And along a 400-meter stretch of road from the pavilion, there will be 3 sections, each featuring acts such as flag performances, the Karching traditional mass dance, and traditional Nongak farmers music. But staying safe is of the utmost importance. To ensure the safety of everyone attending, there will be 1,100 safety and traffic guards, which is around twice that of last year, as well as more than 2,000 police officers dispatched to the area. That's all I have for now, but I'll be back with more updates as we approach midnight. Back to you, Chungmin.
All right, Lee Soo-jin live from Boshingak. Thank you. As we're counting down to 2024 back here in the studio, let's take a moment to rewind and reflect on 2023 with some interesting keywords. Starting with Oxford's Word of the Year. Every year, the Oxford University Press picks a word that captures the vibe of the whole year. For more, we have our culture correspondent, Song Yoo-jin. Yoo-jin, Happy New Year in advance. And what's the word for 2023?
First of all, almost Happy New Year,
yes.
And the word of 2023 was Rizz, R-I-Z-Z. So Rizz, it means style, charm, or attractiveness, or the ability to attract a romantic partner. And the Oxford University Press says the word's usage increased dramatically this year after actor Tom Holland said, "I have no Rizz whatsoever. I have limited Rizz," in an interview with BuzzFeed. And it can also be used like a verb too, like rizz up, which means to attract, seduce, or chat up a person.
Rizz, that's interesting. Now, similar to the Oxford Word of the Year, here in Korea, we also have a 4-character phrase every year, right?
You're right, Tomi. So the phrase of 2023, which was chosen by more than 1,300 professors here in Korea, has been 견리망이. And to tell you the meaning, in English it translates to seeing profit for getting righteousness. So basically it means prioritizing self-interest over doing what's morally right. And those surveys said this phrase pretty much sums up how things were in Korean society in 2023 and also expressed hope for more righteous actions and figures in the new year. And on top of these, I also think climate and ChatGPT were also one of the top keywords of 2023. First of all, climate, as a lot of scientists have confirmed, this year was actually the hottest year on record as we witnessed deadly heat waves and record-breaking temperatures around the world, especially in summer. And as for ChatGPT, I'm pretty sure all of us have used the app at least once. The chatbot just became phenomenal this year, becoming one of the fastest growing services in the world, having 100 million weekly active users as of November.
Eugene, I couldn't just agree more. And finally, let's talk about cultural icons. A few weeks back, the New York Times announced the most stylish people of 2023.
Right, so 71 people were selected, and this list drew a lot of attention here in Korea as well because two Korean figures made it to the list. First is President Yoon Suk-yeol for his, quote, pitch-perfect performance worthy of American Idol as he sang the song American Pie during his state visit to the U.S. in April. And second is K-pop girl group New Jeans, who brought back the late 90s and early 2000s vibes with their R&B songs and iconic bunny ears outfits. So the girls this year topped the Billboard charts this year and also became the first K-pop female act to perform at the prestigious Lollapalooza Music Festival in August.
Where there you have it, the keywords and standout figures of 2023. And we have more year-end highlights coming right up. "2023 has been a year of conflict in many parts of the world. With the new war breaking out in the Middle East and the war in Ukraine entering its third year, hundreds of thousands of civilians have been killed or injured, and the world is now left with a greater threat to global peace. For more, we have our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji in the studio to take a closer look at how these wars have changed the geopolitical landscape. Welcome, Eun-ji.
Thanks for having me.
First, let's start with the conflict between Israel and Hamas. It's been already almost 3 months since the recent flare-up began in October. What kind of impact does this have on the Korean Peninsula?
Well, the Hamas militant group launched an unprecedented surprise attack in Israel on October 7th, which stunned the country and killed hundreds of people. Now, this is a war that's happening thousands of miles away, but it could still affect the security situation on the Korean Peninsula. An expert says the conflict could pose a risk to South Korea, as much of Washington's focus is centered on the Middle East rather than North Korean threats.
Already, the North Korean issue for the Biden administration and United States as a whole, it's not top priority at all. But because of this Israel-Hamas war, the North Korean issue is getting lower in the list of the foreign policy. So it makes some kind of negative effect to the Korean Peninsula.
He added that at the same time, North Korea is using this chance to be more critical of the U.S. for supporting Israel. And it appears that the North is supporting Hamas. The Israeli military said about 10% of the weapons used by Hamas during its attack on Israel on October 7th were manufactured in North Korea. These security risks are especially concerning as they come at a time when the North has conducted 5 ICBM launches this year, the highest number in a single year.
Moving on to the situation in Ukraine, it's been almost 2 years since Russia's invasion. What more can you tell us?
Well, North Korea has been able to make strategic moves and strengthens its military cooperation with Russia through the war in Ukraine. In September, the North's leader Kim Jong-un even held a summit with Russia's Vladimir Putin, highlighting their strong cooperation. This sparked concerns of further arms deals between them, as it's widely believed that North Korea provided munitions to Russia and was given technology to successfully launch its first military satellite in return.
Russia and North Korea have been building close ties, especially through their rare summit this year. Russia was supported with weapons and North Korea has been able to gain military technology. This transaction is how the Ukraine war has greatly impacted the situation on the Korean Peninsula.
The expert also showed hopes of a possible shift in the war next year, such as a ceasefire agreement.
And Eunji, speaking of a ceasefire, can we hope for the war to finally come to an end in 2024?
Possibly, yes. Putin has reportedly signaled that he is open to a ceasefire in Ukraine, far short of his recent message saying Russia will not give up what's theirs. Citing two unnamed former senior Russian officials, the New York Times reported that Putin has been signaling through intermediaries since at least September that he is ready to make a deal. It also said Putin earlier indicated that he was satisfied with Russia's captured territory and is ready for an armistice. There is no evidence that Ukrainian leaders who have pledged to retake all their territory will accept this deal. But Putin's repeated interest in a ceasefire might put an end to the war that has lasted longer than expected. And it's important to see how the war ends, because if the war ends with Russia's occupation of Ukrainian territory, it will set an example of a country with nuclear weapons using its power to take over another country.
This makes a very great negative impact on the Korean Peninsula, because it is one of the cases the powerful, especially the nuclear weapon country, use their military power to invade the neighbor sovereign country, and this is exactly what North Korea has pursued for past several decades.
So, Eunji, both wars have definitely shown the dangers of how armed conflicts can just break out into region-wide combats.
Right, we'll have to see that both wars do not expand to wider conflicts in the coming year.
Right, thanks for the wrap-up, Eunji.
Thank you.
한미일 정상회의 정례화와 함께 3국의 외교장관, 국방장관, 국가안보보좌관을 포함한 각급 인사들이 각 분야에서 매년 만나 삼국 간 협력 방안을 긴밀하게 조율해 나가기로 했습니다.
Wrapping up President Yoon's diplomacy in the global arena this year, we are joined by our presidential correspondent, Woo Soo-young, to highlight major achievements made by the South Korean leader. Thanks for joining us, Soo-young.
Pleasure to be here, Jungmin.
So it would be perhaps no exaggeration to say this year was all about diplomacy for the president. I understand you have some keywords for the biggest takeaways. What's the first one?
Well, the first keyword I would give you is alliance, and that's of course pertaining to South Korea's military-focused alliance with the US based on the Mutual Defense Treaty signed some 70 years ago, which became a global comprehensive strategic alliance, broadening their scope of cooperation to areas like tech, climate, energy, and more. This came as Presidents Yoon and Joe Biden announced the Washington Declaration in April after their summit in DC amid North Korea's growing nuclear threat, setting out new measures to boost confidence in the US's extended deterrence or support to its allies under nuclear or conventional attack. The declaration included the creation of the Nuclear Consultative Group, under which the two sides will discuss and develop joint nuclear response guidelines to a potential North Korean nuclear strike. It was also a major step towards the Camp David trilateral agreement with Japan in mid-August.
And Soo-young, we hear increasingly about trilateral cooperation.
That's exactly right. And really, taking South Korea's security ties with the US to the next level required improving relations with Japan as well, which is, of course, another key US ally in East Asia. The two neighbors' relations have been fraught with disputes given Japan's wartime atrocities during its imperial rule of Korea. Now, flying to Tokyo for a summit in March, Yoon went all out to salvage their bilateral ties, which spiraled into a trade war in 2019. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, he responded in kind and also invited Yoon to the G7 Hiroshima summit in May. Then the two leaders joined Joe Biden at Camp David, inking documents on their shared vision and course of action for Indo-Pacific peace and prosperity, as well as joint measures to address North Korea's provocations, such as missile information sharing. Third, they agreed on a consultation, the commitment to consult each other on any security challenges in the region that they perceive. And the aim of all of this was to institutionalize trilateral cooperation across the Indo-Pacific region. But observers do wonder whether the two countries could take it to a next level and really form an alliance system or a mechanism loosely resembling the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, otherwise known as NATO, of course.
Now the question, will it last?
Now that's the question that observers are asking. The biggest risk arguably being the US elections in November next year. The possible return of Donald Trump as US president, that might threaten the continuity of America's alliance-oriented foreign policy, including the trilateral approach to handling North Korea and cooperation on areas like security, supply chains and technology.
This integrated deterrence strategy, the national security strategy of the Biden administration, it is difficult to undo it, probably because it's more structural and you invest a lot of money on it, and all the technology and the tactical, doctrines are developed based on this general idea. So it would be very difficult to reverse it. But I worry that he might reduce the alliance element in the strategy and strengthen the nuclear part more.
Well, perhaps that's why we saw Yoon instate Cho Tae-yong, his current national security advisor, known for his deep knowledge and familiarity with US affairs, as the new National Intelligence Service chief, to facilitate the continuity of trust and cooperation between all three sides.
And moving on, President Yoon also held scores of summits with other world leaders this year, really expanding the diplomatic horizon.
You're right. So over the decades, we saw South Korea traditionally focusing on its relations with the United States, China, Japan and Russia as key countries surrounding the Korean Peninsula on core security issues, while pursuing more non-political trade deals with other countries. However, recently, given the continued geopolitical risks, the rise of nationalism, protectionism, and the rapid pace of technological development, the post-war world era of globalization, free trade and multilateral institutions, those have all been waning. So President Yoon has been pushing for value-based multilateral cooperation for a rules-based world order in order to stabilize trade, regional security, and also tackle climate, digital, and global development challenges, pledging Seoul's so-called contributive diplomacy to become a global pivotal state. Now, Yoon went on over a dozen diplomatic trips this year, even visiting Ukraine to really prove South Korea's value-based solidarity. He's also led global discussions on establishing universal digital norms. But overall, particularly with a focus on economic security, Yoon has been aiming to procure critical supply chains, energy sources, and striking up new partnerships on developing new advanced technologies for South Korea's export-dependent economy.
Environment changes in the global economy have actually shifted our focus toward securing global change, economic partners, with precise emphasis on particular resources, particular technologies, particular materials, or particular economic strategies. So, here are the couple of major reasons for this change, as I already said, COVID-19 and economic tension between the United States and China. So, that's why lots of countries have moved toward a very specialized individual partnership, strategic partnership, rather than the general FTA that emphasize on lowering tariffs to encourage free trade.
Now, major deals include the Downing Street Accord with the UK on deepening security and economic ties, including cooperation on quantum technology that could neutralize North Korean missiles. A semiconductor alliance was forged with the Netherlands to develop cutting-edge R&D in the very technology that is South Korea's #1 export item. Yoon also strengthened ties with Southeast Asian countries, in particular sealing deals with Vietnam and Indonesia on mineral cooperation, and quite notably, collaboration on maritime security issues. State visits to the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, followed by a bilateral free trade agreement with Abu Dhabi, also marked a new, rather timely chapter for South Korea's Middle East diplomacy, as the post-oil era brings both crises and opportunities to Arab states as crude suppliers and South Korea as a major importer. Now, I would tell you, Changmin, that economic security will also be a keyword next year as South Korea really looks to diversify its export markets, particularly in the areas of bio-nuclear plants, smart agriculture, and other such export industries.
That is very right. All right, thanks for the wrap-up, Seo.
Thanks very much, Changmin.
So as we just saw, the Korean Peninsula had to see tensions heightened this past year. And over the weekend, leader Kim Jong-un called the two Koreas two hostile countries in a state of war as he wrapped up a key party meeting. Take a look at experts' insights from Arirang's in-depth show Within the Frame to reflect on the Korean Peninsula in 2023.
Number one, it demonstrated yet again that it has the booster rocket capability to not only potentially deliver nuclear weapons over long distances. The North Koreans not only demonstrated that, but they demonstrated that they've overcome a serious problem that they've been having, which is the stage separation, the ability of one stage of the missile to separate from the others, and then to have the engines engage in that second stage, and then another stage that would be necessary either to put an object into space or possibly deliver a single or multiple nuclear warheads. This new Russia-North Korea connection has the potential to greatly strengthen North Korea's military capabilities, its satellite launch capabilities, satellite navigation capabilities, materials development, aircraft avionics. At the same time, North Korea's provision of artillery shells to Russia is helping the Russians keep up their outrageous invasion of Ukraine. My sense is that the partnership will continue. We're not going to see this evolve into a full-blown military alliance with a whole series of detailed military exercises.
The recent actions taken by the Yoon government were a big surprise for the Japanese side, but it was certainly received positively by the Japanese and also by Western countries in general. And that is why the Japanese government agreed to resume currency swap, GSOMNIA, and lift export restrictions. An important take from this, I think, is that both sides have learned that cooperation is possible and we can overcome disputes, and we have more to gain from cooperation than disputes.
President Yoon sort of affirmed that South Korea would not go on a nuclear weapons path. That took the wind out of the sails of those who had been advocating it. And in return, the U.S. not only affirmed its longstanding commitment, but was willing to agree to a nuclear consultative group to try to add additional measures of assurance to our Korean ally.
The leaders have agreed on regularizing leaders' meeting and joint military exercises, and also agreed on cooperation for the problems on North Korea. In addition, the leaders agreed on to work together for the stability of East Asia and the Indo-Pacific, and also cooperate for economic security. First, the three countries aim to check China's advance in East Asia and the Indo-Pacific. Second, economic security is an urgent issue for three countries. They need to secure the supply chains for significant, important goods, such as semiconductors, oil and gases, and food, things of that nature. Reducing dependency on China requires three-way cooperation at the high level. So summit meeting at the Camp David was of historical importance.
In my view, this was one of the most significant diplomatic and strategic events that I've witnessed in Northeast Asia in many, many decades. At the same time, it is sending an extremely important signal, not only to North Korea, but to China and Russia and others who would seek to engage in mischief in East and Northeast Asia. I hope the two countries will be to preserve and grow this regardless of the outcomes of their respective political processes.
The question is whether they can keep the momentum and deepen the cooperation even further. The United States will have the presidential election in 2024, and Japan is likely to have an election in the lower house next year. So there might be a change in leadership in those countries. Therefore, it is crucial for the leaders to set the foundation for trilateral cooperation as much as possible before any changes in the future. And that includes winning firm support on their policy from the general public.
A notable change was spotted in South Korea's foreign policy in the year 2023. It pretty much boils down to the country forging closer ties with the United States and Japan against North Korea's incremental security threats in tandem with the Yoon Suk-yeol administration's foreign policy. For more insights, joining me is Jessica Stone, correspondent for Voice of America, and Walter Sim, Japan correspondent for the Straits Times. Jessica and Walter, welcome to the program. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Jessica, first, back in April, Presidents Yoon and Biden adopted the Washington Declaration, and in August, they cemented their trilateral cooperation with Japan's Prime Minister Kishida through the Camp David principles. How does Washington assess its renewed relationship with Seoul and Tokyo, and what does it mean for the U.S. to align its collective efforts with allies and partners at a time when the stakes are high on the Korean Peninsula and around the world?
Well, we are seeing a deepening of the relationship, not only between the U.S. and South Korea, but between the U.S., South Korea, and Japan, because throughout the year, we've seen a series of meetings throughout the government. According to the U.S., these alliances are critical. They're a critical part of countering North Korea's military and nuclear program, as well as its space satellite activities. Allegations that North Korea is providing weapons to Russia, which Moscow denies, and its fight against Ukraine. And allies are preparing for more North Korean threats in 2024. There are concerns about whether or not North Korea may have provided the weapons that were used by Hamas on October 7th in the attacks in Israel. Also concerns about countering China as an effort by these three allies. And so these are all kinds of reasons why the deepening of these ties, not just because of what's happening on the Korean Peninsula, but also because of North Korea's weapons proliferation around the world.
Right, there is a host of issues. And Walter, the relations between Seoul and Tokyo marked a turning point in March. By that, I meant the better trade relations and the two leaders' frequent meetings. What's the atmosphere in Tokyo like regarding a thaw in the bilateral relationship this past year?
Well, the atmosphere has definitely been very positive. So Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida obviously sees South Korean President Yoon as a foreign leader whom he can trust over their multiple meetings, as you pointed out. But of course, there are still obstacles to their relationship, such as the South Korean court ruling this month that ordered Tokyo to pay about 200 million won to each of the 16 comfort women defendants. But the fact that the news cycle has, at least in Japan, really moved on suggests that the government wants to really manage its ties with South Korea to prevent relations from worsening. Of course, this positive mood has spillover effects. It has really benefited cultural ties. But now in October 2023, South Korean arrivals to Japan, according to tourism data, as compared to the same month in 2019, has surged by 3 times. And overall, for the first 10 months of the year, the number of South Korean visitors to Japan has grown by 7.7%. So we see Korean food, Korean culture, Korean music, K-pop, becoming extremely popular in Japan, I think.
And Walter, the leaders often describe North Korea's provocations as unprecedented this year. There was a rare Kim Jong-un-Putin summit in September. Ever since that, Pyongyang's military ties with Moscow have gotten closer than ever. That really culminated with North Korea launching a military spy satellite with help from Russia as it continues to advance its nuclear and missile programs, as well as cyber threats. What are the power dynamics in East Asia like, involving China and Russia? Where does the Seoul, Washington, Tokyo security cooperation stand in this region?
Well, there definitely is cause, and I don't think the leaders were, overstating the threat when they described Pyongyang's provocations as unprecedented. So definitely there is a lot of room, as Jessica mentioned earlier, for very close security collaboration and coordination in the region between South Korea, the US, as well as Japan. But if I may add on to that, I also do see Japan and South Korea hoping to maintain stable relations with China. And this is obviously evident from their recent trilateral foreign ministers meeting in Busan. That ended in a pledge for a leader summit meeting as soon as possible. Of course, we can't say the same about Russia because of its invasion of Ukraine. And as Jessica pointed out, if tensions were to rise even further over the Taiwan Strait, Japan and the United States would surely want to involve the South Korean security apparatus even more alongside the US forces in South Korea to help contain tensions over the Taiwan Strait as well.
Jessica, eyes are on the 2024 U.S. presidential election. How might the election results affect its bilateral ties with South Korea and the three-way cooperation with Japan? Are we going to see a dramatic change in policy regarding the Korean Peninsula depending on the election results?
I think the linchpin to answer that question is whether or not Joe Biden wins, in which case we'll see a continuation of the existing policy of deepening alliances throughout the Indo-Pacific between the U.S. and its Indo-Pacific partners. But if Donald Trump wins, who is the leading nominee in the Republican fight, we're likely to see some possible changes, particularly in the U.S.-South Korea relationship. Remember, Donald Trump had 3 face-to-face meetings with Kim Jong-un in a desire to denuclearize the peninsula. None of them were successful, but his style of diplomacy certainly was unusual and in many ways broke precedent in the previous approach by the U.S. government.
All right, we'll have to see how it all plays out. And finally, to you both, what more cooperation can we expect from South Korea, the U.S., and Japan, either in a bilateral or trilateral way in 2024? Perhaps Jessica first and then Walter.
Yeah, I think the answer to this question is along 2 different lines. I think we're going to see a lot more coordination on North Korean sanctions, particularly around cryptocurrency, and having this coordination at the National Security Advisor level inhibit North Korea from furthering their nuclear ambitions with cryptocurrency and money laundering.
And Walter?
I also do see a lot of tighter cooperation on trade, on supply chains, particularly in semiconductors. And this is an area where Japan and South Korea has been really investing a lot in recent times. On the bilateral front, I mentioned a little bit about tourism, people-to-people exchanges earlier, and I do expect this to continue even stronger into the new year.
Walter Shim, Japan correspondent of the Straits Times, and Jessica Stone, correspondent of Voice of America. Thank you for your time.
Great to be with you.
Thank you very much.
우리나라의 저출산 문제가 가장 큰 이슈인 것 같아요. 많은 젊은 세대들이 이제 결혼 생각이 많이 없고, 이유가 이제 저희 나라 물가도 많이 오르고 그게 가장 큰 문제인 것 같아서 많이 이제 결혼을 많이 안 하는 것 같습니다.
Probably the war in Israel. That definitely caught my attention. I don't know, I think I happened to watch the news and just seeing hostages taken, it's terrible.
When I talk to my cousins who live here, they do say that because raising kids is so expensive, they always say if they had to do it again, they're not sure that they'd have 2 kids or 3 kids. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's probably doesn't help with the high cost of living in Korea.
I think on the whole world situation everywhere is terrible. I was so scared of seeing everything and not being able to move around freely. That was very awful. Yeah.
제 주변 지인분들도 당했다시피 좀 전세 사기 쪽이 좀 많이 이슈화되지 않았었나 싶기도 하고, 개인적인 바람이 있다면 저도 전세를 살고 있긴 하지만 전세를 살고 계신 분들이 좀 많이 피해를 안 받을 수 있도록 그런 게 좀 좋아졌으면 좋겠습니다.
저는 챗GPT라고 생각해요. 원래 저희가 과제를 할 때 인터넷에서 많이 찾아보잖아요. 근데 챗GPT가 도입되고 난 후에는 애들이 진짜 대부분 다 챗GPT로 돌리고 모든 과제를 챗GPT를 쓰는 것 같아서 정말 큰 도움도 되고 이슈도 되고 논란도 되었던 것 같아요.
And now we have foreign journalists' picks from Arirang's in-depth panel show Issues and Insiders about the diplomatic, economic, and social issues that dominated the country in 2023.
President Yoon can do, and what he has been doing, is to gather nations friendly to South Korea and who oppose war on the Korean Peninsula to show a unity of purpose and a resolve. And to that extent, his meeting last month here in Seoul with senior defense officials from every country that had troops fighting to save South Korea during the Korean War was quite significant. It sent a signal that South Korea is far from being alone and that the United Command that was started back in 1950 to defend this country is still very much alive. And that tells North Korea and anybody else that this is not the time for adventurism on the Korean Peninsula. The key message here is deterrence, which means preventing and avoiding any military action until one day, hopefully, a political solution can be found.
The IMF has projected growth in Korea to strengthen from 1.4% to 2.2% in 2024. And to just look firstly at the domestic reasons, she said that it was resilient because of, she credited an effective policy response within South Korea. She also said that the government has been acting responsibly to normalize its fiscal stance. There are also external factors. Outside factors are, of course, the Chinese economy is performing better than expected, according to the IMF. And so this is beneficial for export-orientated economies like South Korea. And China is obviously the biggest trading partner. More generally, there have been recent hopes that of a resurgent global technology demand that will continue to drive Korean exports.
The fertility rate, which is the average number of children that a woman in a country bears during her lifespan. In Korea, this number for the third trimester, that is July between September, literally was 0.7, which is the lowest in the world. The Office of Statistics actually said that with the current trend, by 2050, the number of young people being people between the age of 18 and 34, will actually half in Korea, down to 5 million. There's been a lot of talk this year about the issues dealing, for example, with immigration, with allowing more people to come to the country. Definitely immigration seems to be a part of the solution, but it's not the only solution. People find themselves more and more burdened and feel that having children just makes everything way more difficult. But of course, Korea, regionally speaking, is not alone in this issue. These figures definitely do not point to anything good, and people will be expecting the government to come up with new measures.
A couple of my friends are Korean teachers, so the one I hear a lot is about the state in the schools at the moment, or the concerns that revolve around the Child Welfare Act. Unfortunately, because it's a little bit vague, we've seen teachers now come under so much pressure that we've even seen a spate of recent suicides by teachers who are coming under a lot of parental pressure. Under this act, pretty much anyone can be accused of abuse, even if it's a lack of smiling at a child or not helping a child access the phone. When you get a charge of abuse, you are suspended. It's not like a process where you have to wait. And now the Yoon government saying, we want these protective measures in place, but we need to define what abuse is. So, we really know if this is a case of abuse or not. And parents who wrongly accuse abuse and knowingly do so, they can get punished in turn.
And South Korea's economy has some ups and downs too. Our economics correspondent Shin Ha-young has a wrap-up of the economy in 2023 and what to expect in 2024 through key numbers.
For South Korea, the year 2023 was not easy on the economic front, but at the same time, it was a year where the country witnessed some positive signs. The first key number is 2%. It's the Bank of Korea's target level of inflation, and as widely expected, one of the economic keywords of 2023 was, of course, inflationary pressure. The Consumer Price Index, a key gauge of inflation, shows signs of slowing in the first half of 2023, with the on-year inflation rate dipping as low as 2.3% in July. But in the following months, inflation increased to 3% level due to higher oil costs and rising prices for some agricultural goods. In efforts to bring inflation down to its target level, South Korea's central bank kept the key interest rate unchanged at 3.5% for its seventh straight meeting. Meanwhile, the U.S. Fed has maintained its rate in the 5.25% to 5.5% range for a third consecutive time. With the Fed hinting at rate cuts for 2024, market watchers also expect possible rate cuts from the Bank of Korea. The key interest rate gap between South Korea and the U.S., which stands at 2 percentage points, will continue to be a factor to keep our eyes on in 2024 based on the monetary policy directions of the two countries. The second key figure is 13 months. South Korea's economic backbone, its exports, have been sluggish amid continued weak global demand for semiconductor chips, as well as a relatively slow reopening in China. However, toward the end of 2023, exports began showing some promising signs. Korea's exports in October saw an on-year rebound for the first time in 13 months thanks to greater shipments of automobiles and ships. Exports in November remained robust due to a rebound in semiconductor exports after 16 months, along with a rebound in rechargeable batteries and petrochemicals. And even though exports to China continued to decline for the 18th consecutive month, the overall trade balance as of November maintained a surplus for the 6th straight months. The last key figure is 1.4%. With such performances, the OECD, International Monetary Fund, Bank of Korea, and the South Korean government all forecast economic growth for 2023 at 1.4%, while the Asian Development Bank predicts growth of 1.3%. Then what will the South Korean economy look like in 2024? The general consensus among economic pundits is that the country's economy will expand by over 2% in 2024. The estimated figure from the OECD has been revised up to 2.3% from its previous report, with exports likely to pick up with a recovery in chip demand. However, there are various factors that Korea needs to focus on from both at home and from abroad. Key external uncertainties include financial instability due to global inflation and sustained lingering high key interest rates and geopolitical tensions arising from conflicts like the Israel-Hamas war and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Additionally, concerns involve a deepening economic downturn in China, as well as the pace of recovery in the global chip industry. On the domestic front, high levels of household debt could continue to weigh on private consumption and investment. But hopefully, the nation's strong resilience and the positive signals in 2023 will pave the way for a tangible economic recovery in 2024.
Well, here we are, almost clocking into the new year. We've rounded up the key moments in politics, diplomacy, and the economy. Now let's shift our focus and reflect on some of the biggest cultural moments of 2023 with our culture correspondent, Songyujin. Yujin, where should we start?
Well, let's first start with K-pop with superstars BTS. So all members have now released solo albums this year, which top music charts overseas, like the US Billboard and UK official charts. And the boys also celebrated their 10th anniversary in June, and they're all now in the military, with RMV, Jimin, and Jungkook having started their service this month. And this is when something really interesting happened.
The moment when all BTS members enlisted in the military, their song Spring Day topped the iTunes chart, even surpassing Mariah Carey's Christmas song. It was the fans who made this happen, which shows the unique fan culture of K-pop.
Yujin, it seems like BTS always manages to steal the show. Right. Any other K-pop highlights?
Well, I could say that 2023 in the K-pop industry was the year of girl power. As you know, Blackpink, who recently renewed their group contract, they became the first K-pop act to headline the Coachella Music Festival in April. And it was also a very big year for rookies New Jeans because they became the K-pop act to win a Billboard Music Award the quickest, topping both the Billboard main single and album charts within a year of their debut. But experts say what really stood out in K-pop this year was exporting its unique training system.
JYP Entertainment teamed up with Sony Music Japan and created the Japanese girl group Niju. Before, the strategy was to include 1 or 2 non-Korean members in each K-pop group to appeal to the global market. The trend now is creating K-pop style groups tailored to the culture and preferences of the local audience, sometimes without any Korean members.
And not only JYP Entertainment, but HYBE also partnered with US-based Geffen Records for the global audition program, the debut Dream Academy, and the resulting 6-member girl group Cat's Eye will likely debut next year.
And K-pop's influence is truly reaching every corner of the globe. Right. Now onto the big screen. It wasn't the brightest year for Korean cinema, was it?
No, Jongmin, it was not a really blockbuster year for the cinema because just 2 movies managed to break the 10 million mark at the Korean box office, which was the 3rd installment of the Roundup series and 12/12 The Day. And one expert I talked to says this is due to the rise of short-form videos.
People now search for quick summaries of movies on YouTube or watch bits of them when they have time. If a movie doesn't have a tightly woven, immersive plot, mind-blowing special effects, or a sound system that you can't replicate at home, theaters are going to find it challenging to lure back the audiences they've lost.
A tough year for theaters indeed, but streaming services had their time to shine.
Right, so in contrary, the small screen had its big moment. For example, the Netflix original The Glory, it became the 3rd most watched title on the streamer during the first half of this year, with a total viewing time of 622.8 million hours. And on Disney Plus, Moving became the most watched Korean original on the platform.
And Yujin, moving on to the arts, we saw several Korean artists winning awards at prestigious competitions.
Right, some stellar performances. For example, baritone Kim Tae-han, he became the first Asian male singer to win the Queen Elizabeth competition. Also in ballet, Universal Ballet Company's Kang Mi-sun was named Best Female Dancer at the Benoit de la Danse, known as the Oscars of Dance. So really a big round of applause for all these incredible artists.
Impressive. I also remember the Hangzhou Asian Games because you cover the games on site.
Right, it was probably one of the most unforgettable and best coverages that I've done in 2023. So here, Korea clinched its third consecutive gold medal in men's football, its first table tennis gold in over 2 decades, and won the women's individual and team badminton competitions for the first time in almost 30 years. Now, esports also received spotlight, debuting as an official Asian Games sport. Korea won 2 golds in esports and also hosted the League of Legends World Championship for the first time in 5 years. And one expert even chose esports player Faker as Korea's culture icon of 2023.
Faker rose to even bigger fame after winning gold at the Asian Games and the League of Legends World Championship. He played a huge role in establishing the idea that gaming is a legitimate sport. He's been drawing hundreds of millions of gamers worldwide to Korea and K-culture, with a fan base as devoted as those of K-pop stars.
But Eugene, like any other year, it wasn't all good news, was it?
Unfortunately, no. So first of all, K-pop girl group 50/50, they faced a legal dispute with their management agency when they requested a contract suspension. The court eventually denied the request and the company expelled the 3 members who continue with the lawsuit. So it's more like 25-75 than 50-50. And a few days ago, actor Lee Sun-gyun, best known for the Oscar-winning movie Parasite, died at the age of 48 in an apparent suicide. Lee was under investigation for alleged drug use, which he denied. So it's quite a somber note to end on, but these are some of the cultural milestones of 2023. It was my great pleasure to share what's buzzing and trending in the world of culture, and here's to more exciting cultural journeys in 2024.
Really, here is to more exciting stories in 2024. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you.
If you look at this tree, Christmas tree over here, there are missions for you to complete in order to become a Santa. You gotta complete all the missions up there that you choose in order to earn a Santa's cape, and then you'll be able to give out gifts for your fans. Are you guys ready?
Yes!
Yay, okay.
Camera, bro. 챌린지. 전눈 챌린지. 전눈
챌린지.
엑소 선배님, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we can do this. Let's do this.
You can do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this.
All right.
Santa kisses don't hold back 꿈에도 했던 그 go back 이젠 아직 너였던 girl Hey, do you remember 3년 전 네 만났던 Every desire 매일 너 하나로 끝없이 이어진 Christmas 울려 퍼진 캐롤도 거리의 불빛도 날 설레게 하지만 baby don't lie 밝아진 듯 날 바라볼 때면 It's a Christmas Eve 난 너 때문이다 When I see you in the night 너 반짝이는 별 곁에 있어줘요 오늘 밤이 끝나기 전에 첫눈이 오면 그대는 나를 찾아올까요 기다리고 바라다 보면 모든 게 이뤄질 거예요 첫눈이 오면 그대는 나를 찾아올까요 그댄 크리스마스 매일 크리스마스 I always wanna be with you 얼마나 기다렸는지
안녕하세요. AB6 이대희입니다. 2023년 마무리 잘 하시고 내년에도 심플리 K-pop 컨투어에서 만나요. 2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
K-Popin comes to our listeners between 1, 2, 3 p.m. Every single day. We play some of the most recent K-pop. We have a lot of interviews with some of the most recent hot celebrities. And so we do have some oldies and new stuff as well. So everybody from every age can come and enjoy K-pop if they would like. Now I feel that K-pop has become more flavored for everybody to listen to, regardless of language. You can be 80 and just be introduced to K-pop and still love it, and you can be 5 and still love it as well. You might not like the same group, but there's something for everybody if you want to try it.
I'm very lucky because I'm a songwriter, but when I meet especially legend senior artists, I learn a lot from them, how they get inspiration, the inspiration behind their music. I learn a lot about that too. So it's a lot of fun and I enjoy it.
K-pop 하면 경쾌한 리듬의 멋진 댄스 음악이라고 생각하는데 사실 그런 음악이 탄생하기 전에 대한민국에 많은 노래들이 존재해 왔었기 때문에 좋은 노래들이 아주 많습니다. 그 노래들을 아리랑 라디오에서 많이 찾아주시기 바랍니다.
Our radio show is a little special because it's not just a radio show, it's a hybrid of TV and radio. So you get the visual while you're also listening. So we do a lot of special episodes and we have a special guest doing amazing live performance for us as well. So we just want to make sure our listeners have a really enjoyable experience while tuning into our show.
We are just minutes away from the new year and from the ringing of the bell at Boshingak Pavilion in Central Seoul. For more on what it's like over there, let's check back with our reporter on site. Sujin, do you have any updates?
Right, so yeah, it's really hard to hear you over here, but hi Jungmin, the new year is almost upon us. This also means that we're just a couple minutes away from the highlight of today's event, which is the striking of the bell. That's why the excitement here is currently at its peak. People are cheering, they are hugging each other. And earlier I had to speak up, but now I can barely hear myself from all the excitement from the crowd. Now they're all ready to take part in South Korea's traditional bell ringing ceremony that's taking place right here in Boshingak in Central Seoul. That will run until 1 a.m. The midnight bell ringing celebration that began in 1953 is South Korea's version of the ball drop in New York's Times Square. At midnight, a total of 22 people, including the mayor of Seoul, Oh Se-hoon, 12 locals, and 6 global influencers will ring the bell 33 times. One of the locals who was elected by a nationwide public poll to ring the bell this year is 18-year-old Yoon Do-il, who risked his life to help people during a knife attack back in August. This year is the first New Year ceremony to be held without the COVID-19 mask mandate, further adding to the excitement.
And Sujin, what are some things that people can look forward to? And is there any particular, at least special about this year's bell ringing ceremony?
Well, I won't be keeping the people that didn't tune in earlier in the dark for very long either. And also the Seoul City government won't either as well, literally. And that's because right as the bell is struck at midnight, a light will shine on people's faces from a giant sun-shaped orb. This year's bell ringing ceremony features an artificial sun in Sejongdae-do in downtown Seoul. The sphere with a 12-meter diameter will be lifted 15 meters into the air to mark the new year dawning. Local government officials are calling it the world's first sunrise of the new year. The sun will be lit up for around 3 minutes. And then the long-awaited K-pop concert to celebrate the new year will kick off with performances by Zero Base One, ENHYPEN, The Boys, and Oh My Girl. But staying safe is of the utmost importance. Around 100,000 people are expected to be in the area, which is twice the amount of attendees as last year. And to ensure the safety of everyone attending, there will be 1,100 safety and traffic guards, which is also around twice that of last year, as well as more than 2,000 police officers dispatched to the area. That's all I have. Happy New Year to you, Chungmin, and everyone watching.
Happy New Year to you too, Sujin. Our Lee Sujin once again reporting live from Pushingak. Thank you. We are inching closer to the midnight, and that means there's going to be tonight's highlight, the bell tolling ceremony in central Seoul. And as you just see on the screen, this year's New Year's Eve event is taking place in other iconic places in the South Korean capital at Pushingak, Gwanghwamun, and Dongdaemun, as you see right over there, just 2 minutes away from the bell ringing ceremony. Eugene, I can't believe how time just flies. So what's the past year been like for you? What was memorable in 2023?
Well, 2023 was like riding a happy roller coaster for me because I crisscrossed provinces and also to other countries to cover a wide variety of stories. The most memorable coverage for me was the Hangzhou Asian Games that I mentioned before. It was my first
It
was my first overseas international business trip. So yeah.
Indeed, a lot happened in the past year. It's like you're adding another layer as each year goes by. By the way, it was great working with you, Eugene. Hearing your stories was such a fun.
Me too, Tommy. My favorite was Fridays every week.
My favorite, your favorite, my favorite too. Just 1 minute down to the ringing in 2024. There you see the Pushingak Pavilion located in central Seoul. Just streets are near the place are just packed with so many people, braving the cold, waiting for tonight's highlight, the bell tolling ceremony, also in Dongdaemun Design Plaza, as you see right over there. It's good to see people gather in person after all those past COVID years, during which the events had to be held virtually or canceled. People get together out there with smiles, braving the cold, wishing for a happy new year. You can really feel the festivities and vibes. Right? The countdown will begin. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Happy New Year! There you have it. The bell is rung to welcome in 2024 the Year of the Blue Dragon.
Year of the Blue Dragon.
Eugene, what a moment. Happy New Year to you too.
Happy New Year to you too, Chungmin.
What do you wish for in 2024? What's your New Year's resolution?
Well, like any other people, I wish for all the best for all the people around me, including you, Chungmin. And as a reporter, I wish I could cover more meaningful and stories that are worth telling to our international audiences around the world in this year, in 2024.
That is great. I also wish for a happy and healthy new year, and for you too, Eugene. And in 2024, wish for a peaceful world.
Right.
And to give you a bit of background about this event, the bell ringing ceremony at Pushingak started in 1953. You just saw the bell ringers striking the bell. The bell is struck 33 times to welcome in the new year. You know, it's a long tradition with religious roots that symbolizes cleansing the darkness of the old year and welcome the new year. Why 33 times? Well, it's dating back to the Joseon dynasty's practice of ringing the bell 33 times to signal the end of the night curfew and the opening of the 4 gates in the capital at 4 o'clock in the morning to start the new day. It's also linked to Buddhism, praying for well-being and peace for the people and the country. Well, during the Joseon dynasty, the pavilion was called Chonggak, literally meaning bell pavilion. It got its current name Pushingak in 1895 when King Gojong changed the name and let them rung at noon and midnight. Of course, New Year's celebrations take place in other elsewhere too, but all across the country. But you can say the one taking place right over there at Posingang is the most iconic event here in South Korea. Eugene, year 2024 is the year of the Blue Dragon, called the year of Kapjin.
Right.
What does the Blue Dragon signify?
Well, so the dragon itself is really special because it's the only mythical creature of the 12 Chinese zodiac signs, and specifically the blue dragon is also one of the 4 guardians.
Right.
And the dragon in general symbolizes strength, authority, and success. So hoping for a really courageous and successful year 2024 to all our viewers.
As you said, Eugene, 2024 falls on the year of the Blue Dragon, according to the successionary cycle, better known as kanji, that consists of a combination of a color and an animal.
Right.
The dragon is the 5th of the 12 cycle animals in the Chinese zodiac. Among the 12 animals, the dragon is the only imaginary dragon animal, not a real one. In the East, a dragon often symbolizes power, a throne, or fortune. I think it's a little different from Western dragons.
Right.
And who are the bell ringers this year?
Well, so there are a total of 22 bell ringers, and 18 are citizen representatives who were recommended by the public. And to name a few, we have Yoon Do-il, who helped save those who were injured during a knife stabbing accident in Bundang back in August. We also have an optician who saved a senior citizen and even paid his hospital bills. So a lot of courageous and heroic figures.
And Eugene, we are seeing so many people gather around there at the pavilion and other places. So what are safety measures? We see just on the screen so many people out there. I also believe public transportation operations are being extended tonight.
Well, to first talk about the crowd, Seoul City expects around more than 100,000 people to gather here, so they dispatched more than 1,000 security personnel, which is 2 times when compared to last year. And to talk about public transportation, and so that people could fully enjoy the New Year festivities, subways in Seoul will operate until 2 a.m. in the morning, as well as buses. The city will also give special incentives to taxi drivers who operate within 300 meters of the event area.
All right, thanks for the information, Eugene.
Thank you.
So as we ushered in the new year, now we hear from people here in Korea about their New Year's wishes.
규칙적인 삶을 살고 공부도 열심히 하는 게 목표입니다.
I really want love and happiness for my family and my friends, and just enjoy my life. I just want to find a job.
사랑하는 2 아이의 아빠다 보니까 항상 2024년에도 건강하고 그리고 행복하고 좋은 일만 많기를 바라는 마음으로 지금 이 자리에 나와 있습니다.
네, 저희 가족들 다 모두 건강하게 한 해를 보내는 게 새해 소망입니다. 전 세계가 어려운 상황인데 그런 것들이 내년에는 좀 한층 더 성장하는 한 해가 됐으면 좋겠습니다.
Love and no more wars.
여러 가지로 이제 코로나가 끝났다라고 하는 상황에서도 여전히 이제 그런 코로나 때문에 영향을 좀 받고 계시고 아직까지도 회복 중에 계신 많은 분들께서도 조금 더 이제 풍족하고 좀 행복하게 좀 바라는 바 다 이루시면서 네, 그렇게 지나가는 한 해가 되었으면 좋겠습니다.
2024 is the year of the Blue Dragon, as we just talked about. It signifies abundance and peace. Our Lee Yoon-hee takes a closer look at its significance.
As 2024 marks the year of the Blue Dragon, the National Folk Museum of Korea is hosting a special exhibition exploring the symbolism and ancient practices surrounding the mythical creature. Each year is represented by one of the 12 animals of the zodiac, with 2024 being represented by a dragon. Over the course of 60 years, each zodiac animal appears 5 times, each time with a different color, with 2024 being blue. Representing immense power and royalty, the dragon symbol was reserved for kings during the Joseon dynasty. In Korean mythology, the dragon is often represented as the god of water or the god of rain, in bringing good fortune. The Folk Museum's exhibition displays the profound influence the dragon has held in the past, especially for farmers. Featuring a drawing of a dragon is the farmer's flag, representing a farmer's music band. The oration for rainmaking ritual was performed during droughts in the 1950s. It involved prayers for rain by honoring the dragon as a god. Wishing or hoping for something is a timeless tradition, and with 2024 approaching, people are making wishes for the upcoming new year.
Our New Year's wish is that our moving houses goes smoothly for us next year.
Looking for, a new job. It's always a struggle, but together we can stick it through and figure out, what the next step will be.
It's almost for every year we wish for our family healthy and our business to be prosper, son to be very healthy and good, behave. Yes.
In the year of the Blue Dragon, it is said that the energy of a soaring dragon in the sky brings about a seamless resolution to all issues. Hopefully we'll see that happen in 2024. 이은희, 아리랑뉴스.
Last month, Arirang TV launched its first AI anchor, Ari. Now she has a preview of what to look forward to in 2024 in the Korean society and what significant events are in store worldwide.
Good evening. I am Arirang News AI anchor, Ari. Next year, the South Korean government plans more support for young people, seniors, and the disabled. We begin with the new policies for young people. A new youth transportation card will be introduced, providing a 30% reimbursement on transportation expenses every month. To try and increase the low birth rate, the government will provide more support for newlyweds and those with newborn children. The property acquisition tax will be reduced for newlyweds, or couples with newborns buying a new house. And families with multiple children won't have to pay vehicle acquisition tax when buying a new car. Another change is that from next year, hospitals should register all births. This is because previously, when parents had to report the births themselves, there were cases where the biological parents intentionally did not register their child's birth. As South Korea's population ages, the government plans to provide more support to seniors and the disabled. The country will create over 140,000 jobs for seniors and increase the pension by 7%. The number of low-income households that get livelihood subsidies will also be expanded, so that households up to 32% of the median income will be eligible for subsidies. And 24-hour at-home care will be provided to those with severe disabilities. For public safety, new license holders will be required to learn about autonomous vehicles in preparation for the era of self-driving cars. Also, to enhance safety, low-risk firearms for police officers are being distributed to all officers. Previously, just 1 in 3 officers had such firearms. To tackle recent drug issues, the government will run a 24-hour drug hotline and establish 17 rehabilitation centers throughout the country. Plenty of big events are happening in 2024. The Gangwon 2024 Winter Youth Olympic Games will kick off in January. South Korea will be the first Asian country to host the Winter Youth Olympics. And in April, the 22nd Korean general election will take place. Can the current opposition party keep hold of the National Assembly? Or can the ruling party gain a majority in parliament? Also, next year we'll see several key elections around the world. In March, Russia will hold its presidential election, and the United States has its presidential election in November. Meanwhile, in Paris this July, athletes will compete in the 2024 Olympics. This year, there have been many conflicts worldwide, such as the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia and the conflict between Israel and the Hamas militant group, with no apparent resolution in sight. Let's hope for peace in the new year. Not much time left until the new year. Hope all of you have a joyful end to 2023.
Then what can be done in this new year to upgrade domestic politics, and how can the K-content industry flourish even more? Our Kim Bo-kyung had a chance to ask an expert's projection for 2024 for Within the Frame.
The year 2023 was indeed a tough one. With 2 wars raging on, the world could see a clear alignment between authoritarian states versus democratic nations. It was no exception on the Korean peninsula. North Korea upgraded its levels of provocations, ranging from military spy satellite launches to solid fuel ICBMs, and boosted ties with Russia through the Vostochnny summit. Dr. Shin Gyuk, a renowned expert in this regard, forecasts such provocations to continue as Pyongyang's intentions are crystal clear, wishing to be recognized as a nuclear state.
They like to become a nuclear state with ICBM capability to reach the United States. So this will not only enhance their national security, but also will put them in great position to negotiate with Washington in the future. So therefore, they will continue to enhance their nuclear and missile capability.
Until now, South Korea had been showing strategic clarity toward the north. But with the U.S. presidential election coming in 2024, the expert forecasts some challenges ahead. He gave two possible scenarios Washington would take if Donald Trump becomes the head of state again. Either way, he did not see it as positive for the Yoon administration.
One possibility is to resume negotiation with North Korea. We know that Trump was pursuing a summit diplomacy with Kim Jong-un. And then, of course, it didn't lead to any success. But then he might want to resume the talks with North Korea. On the other hand, he may lose any interest in negotiating with North Korea. And in that case, he might support Yoon government in taking a hardline policy toward Pyongyang. I think in both cases, it will create a great challenge for the Yoon government because if Trump resumes negotiation with Pyongyang, then they create tension between Washington and Seoul in dealing with North Korea. On the other hand, if Trump supports Yoon government approach toward Pyongyang, they might increase tensions on the Korean Peninsula.
Against North Korea's provocations, South Korea had been bolstering trilateral ties with Washington and Tokyo more than ever before. Credit should be given to President Yoon, Dr. Shin said, as his resolution regarding compensation for victims of Japan's wartime forced labor was what helped fuel momentum for three-way ties. However, whether it will remain strong is uncertain, as leaders of both countries could change.
Next year might be quite different, especially if Trump is back to power. I'm sure that the alliance will take a hit. For example, he may, demand more in burden sharing, okay? Because that's why he was, asking last time. Likewise, with Japan now, Kishida and Yoon, I think they were having good relations, but now, Kishida is, leadership is under pressure. And it's possible that he may be replaced by a different leader. So, at the worst case, we might see different political leaders in both Washington and Tokyo. And then, Yoon has to reestablish relations with the leaders in both countries.
Considering the U.S.-China interdependence and variables that could challenge three-way cooperation, Dr. Shin suggests Seoul manages ties with Beijing. And for that, he suggested two ways.
One is dealing with anti-China sentiment in South Korea. Of course, it's not unique to Korea. It's happening in other parts of the world. But I think it's not good for either country to have very strong anti-China sentiment in South Korea. Also, they need to promote more people-to-people exchange.
Confidence building with Beijing is one thing. Another is to fully prepare contingency plans, especially regarding Taiwan issues, as cross-strait relations are a sensitive and critical matter for China.
If anything happens over Taiwan, then North Korea might take some military move as well, if not full-scale war. Then the whole world is dealing with like 3-4 different wars simultaneously. And this will be very difficult, not only for South Korea, but for United States, for Japan. Okay, that's why I keep saying that we should get prepared for the worst case scenario, and we should have some contingency plans.
Another major area that has room to upgrade is domestic politics. The main opposition party's leader was facing overly polarized politics, judicial risks, and certain figures departing from the ruling party to create a new one. The general election is scheduled for April 2024. But apart from that, Dr. Shin underlined the need to establish a parliamentary system so that more coalition and cooperation can be forged.
In a Korean election system, both president and also general election, it's basically winner take all system. It is my belief that Korea needs to establish a parliamentary system. And there, I think they can promote coalition among different political parties.
From Squid Game to The Glory, as well as K-pop. With Korean content's global popularity, South Korea could witness elevated soft power. A variety of elements mixed together made this possible, and the pundit pointed out that South Korea can do even better.
Only one thing I'd like to highlight is that now many Korean stars, they need to take more responsibility for global issues. Now they became very popular. They have bigger voice in the world. They should use those power to address global issues such as racism, inequality, war and peace, like North Korean human rights violation and so on.
김보경, 아리랑뉴스.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 아리랑 국제방송 최수영 기자입니다. 네,
What I'm doing right now is the most key part in my coverage. When I find something that I need to cover, I should contact someone in charge to help. Now, let's go get Arirang. She's probably back now.
Hi, how was it? It was good. So after getting back from a conference, usually I go straight up and finish writing my article for the day. But time's running tight, so we should go find Suji.
The retail sector is using a winter holiday.
Hi.
Oh, it's already time. Because we're broadcast journalists, we always have to record voiceovers for our articles. Let's start heading out.
It's been a busy day for all of us.
It's been a busy year.
Right, now that we're all here, we can start talking about the busy year that we've all had. The item that I brought with me today are these name tags. Wow. This year for me was all about discovering new advancements in industries, as I went to a lot of different conferences and exhibitions this year as a business correspondent. A key theme this year for many of them was sustainable development like renewable energy. I've had a great time finding out how South Korea's industries are shaping the future.
So one of the hardest parts about covering conferences is that the report has to come out on the day you go out, which is why I've always been truly impressed about how we've always been able to pull through.
Thank you so much. So Seong, what did you bring today to summarize your year?
Well, guess what? You guys already seen it. I brought this, a scout scarf.
Okay, wow.
And a big, nice cowboy hat.
I remember this. This is very memorable.
You guys remember this?
Yeah, of course. How could we forget?
Yeah, I put these on when I covered the 25th World Scout Jamboree in Saemangeum this summer. It was the most memorable report in my first year at Arirang. This event made me feel a lot as a reporter because that place was extremely hot and all reporters were strongly restricted by the Scout organization. I couldn't cover as much as I wanted, feeling depressed. However, after that, I learned so many things and I got the confidence to cover anything in the future as a news features reporter.
Well, Seong, it sounds like you really had it rough, but it's a unique experience you can only have as a reporter.
Thanks. Well, what did you bring, Sujin? I cannot wait to hear from you.
So I brought a stuffed animal with some human characteristics. Yeah.
Oh.
Because I wanted to bring something that represents what has been the best part of being a reporter for me, which was being able to meet a wide variety of people. Having worked as an economics reporter for a little more than a year, I've been lucky enough to not just talk to ministers both from Korea and abroad, but also small business owners and even young mothers. And all of these experiences helped me understand the economy at the micro and the macro level, and also see how the economy directly impacts our daily lives.
Yeah, I hope next year we'll be full of exciting reports too.
Well, before we do that, we need to get through the rest of the year first.
I guess that means we have to go right back to work now.
Go, go, go!
Hi, we're the Arirang Rookies of 2023. I'm Songjin.
I'm Kwonu.
I'm Eunhee.
It's probably next to me. People kept saying like I look like newborn or like the characters from Among Us.
Yes.
And actually it was this time when I went to this cattle farm because of this disease spreading in the cows. And to be honest, I didn't have to wear the suit, but I did. And I definitely think it helped to bring the liveliness of the scene to the viewers. So I am very proud of myself.
Yes.
I went to an LP cafe and I've been there before, and it normally is very crowded with a lot of people and it's a very hip place. I wanted to show the viewers that like the cafe looks like this, and then you would actually get to put on your headsets and listen to it. So that's how I did my stand-up.
Really cool.
So like I actually put my headsets on and I was listening to the music, and then I looked into the camera and I was saying all my words. And then once I came back and it was playing it on TV, like all three of us were there, and Uni was like, Songjin, I just cannot watch it. It's too funny. And like,
Yeah, I remember that day as well, yeah.
so hopefully you guys don't laugh at it.
It's the perfect
I was at a pop-up store. Do you guys remember? Yes. Yeah, Uni was also laughing at that. That featured news as well, but like it was really cool because like in a store located in Seoul, I could like ride a boat. Like although I didn't like row the boat myself, I got a chance to ride the boat inside, and like I got these great snacks there, like pretty fun games there. Like yeah, I had so much fun.
One major hobby I like to say that I have is sports, and what I brought today, I decided to bring a trophy medal, like a gold trophy medal that I got.
Sorry, I thought I didn't make it.
I know, you would have had fun.
So much fun.
I would have like got like 3 trophies.
Oh yeah?
Just one. Actually, I really, really love singing.
I'll be like clapping.
Ha ha ha, 어저께.
Okay.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year, have a vision.
Okay, so
Wow, okay.
we're doing the same thing.
I heard you like love dancing and you're good at it.
Yeah, true. So I like filming like short videos related to like cover dances and things like that.
Wow, so good. Thank you for listening to each of our self-introduction.
I hope you guys
enjoyed.
Yeah, enjoyed.
That was a glimpse about us.
Yeah.
If interested, keep following.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you.
Please look forward to our reports next year.
Happy New Year!
(2024년에는) 건강하고 행복한 한 해를 보냈으면 좋겠습니다.
다가오는 2024년 용띠 해인 만큼 저희 시크릿 넘버와 함께 훨훨 날아오르시길 기원하겠습니다.
여러분, 날씨는 춥지만 따뜻하게 보내시길 바라겠고요.
2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요. 지금까지 저희는 안녕.
새해 복 많이.
2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요. 안녕.
2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요. 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요. 2024년 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
Hopefully 2024 will be another very happy one for you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for watching.
Don't forget to show your love and support for Arirang Radio as a whole, and I hope to see you there. Happy New Year!
New Year 2024, we are going to try our hardest to bring even more new, fun, exciting content for you to enjoy. So please continue to tune in and show your love. And thank you so much. Happy New Year, everyone. Bye!
제가 내년에 군대를 가는데 지금도 충분히 많이 좋아졌지만 조금만 더 좋아졌으면 좋겠습니다.
국가들끼리 전쟁 같은 게 많이 일어나고 있는 것 같은데 약간 학교에서 수행평가 같은 거 할 때도 보면은 그런 기사들을 많이 접할 수 있거든요. 그래가지고 그런 전쟁 같은 게 내년에는 많이 없어졌으면 좋겠어요.
저 정말 물가가 낮아졌으면 좋겠습니다. 어묵이 1,000원이 됐어요. 옛날에는 500원이면 사 먹었거든요. 정말 물가가 2배 이상 뛴 것 같은데 학생으로서는 정말 약간 힘듭니다.
이제 아파트에 곧 이사를 하는데 금리가 좀 안정화됐으면 좋겠어요. 하루하루 변동금리 때문에 어제는 뭐 금리가 이렇게 됐고 오늘은 좀 떨어졌는데 이걸 갈아타야 되냐 이런 얘기가 정말 많거든요. 정책적으로 좀 안정화되는 금리 정책이 좀 생겼으면 좋겠습니다.
이제 저출산이랑 또 이제 취업 문제 그리고 이제 아파트 이제 젊은 세대들이 좀 그걸 많이 문제로 생각하고 있는데 내년에는 이제 그런 게 좀 많이 개선되었으면 좋겠고 또 많은 또 정부에서 많이 젊은 세대를 위한 이런 지원을 많이 해주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
Like any other year, 2023 was a truly eventful one. Now it has become part of history. In the new year, we hope to hear some good news. And on behalf of our news team, we wish a happy and healthy new year to all of our viewers. Arirang News is always with you with the latest news, updates, and analysis. Once again, thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. Good night.